Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Shelley and Liz YouTube channel and on podcast. We're really pleased that you've taken the time to be with us today. And our topic for today is self-love. And we know that that's something that is of great interest to everyone. And so we wanted to spend a little bit of time with you this afternoon talking about that. So um, before we move forward, Shelley, did you want to say hello to everybody?
Um, Hi there. I'm really happy that you could join us, and really excited to have Liz with me today. I don't know if I should introduce myself again as a women's transformational mindset coach. And yeah, we're going to talk about self-love. Um,
Wonderful. So tell me, Shelley. So this is a concept that is very in around the world right now. What to you is self love? Can you tell us what it is to you?
well, we have to remember that how we are treated in this life is really a reflection of how we treat ourselves. And so we need to be cognizant of what we value, what we believe, who we are. And so we need to practice self love. And it is essentially a regard for one's own well being and happiness, and the ability and willingness to practice self care, taking care of your own needs, having sensible boundaries that don't um, that they're assertive, and they help keep you healthy and well in moving forward in your life. It's not sacrificing your needs, your values, or your beliefs to please someone else. It's about knowing your self-worth. It is about feeling that you are a good person who deserves to be treated with respect. And it's about having self-value. How you act out there in the world so that people see who you really are. It's about having self-respect and pride and confidence in yourself, behaving with honor and dignity and pride and confidence. Um, it's about self-empowerment and taking control of our own life, setting goals, and making positive choices. That means that we know who we are. We understand our strengths and our weaknesses, the things that we are good at, the things we're passionate about, and that we believe in ourselves. So important that we believe in ourselves. Self-love is about practicing self-care and behaviors that we intend to we intentionally practice to preserve and maintain or even improve our personal, emotional, and physical and social well-being. It's also about having fun and pursuing our passions and allowing ourselves to do that. you know having fun
Hmm.
is a really important part of being human and of being alive, and of being practicing self-care. um, let's see, it's about surrounding yourself with positive people who support you, and and that means you can have healthy relationships. It's about self-acceptance of your body, yourself, your abilities, and who you are. And yeah, it's about having honor, that you respect, admire, appreciate who you are, and that you practice self-compassion. So it's so many things. And to each of us, um, self-love is individual. What the things that we each need is different. It changes from one person to the next. So that is my definition of self-love, or at least kind of a summation of it. So what do you think? Tell me what you think about self-love. What is it to you?
Wow. First, I want to say I just felt so much passion from you in that answer, and I know that that's something you just love to talk about, and you just lifted me up with that. So thank you for that, Shelley. It
Oh,
was like, wow, awesome. What can I do to add to that? Well, I think that when you actually think about the key emotions that most people live with, two of the biggest emotions that most people live with are love and fear. And our cultures have built us up based on the fear model. You know, the educational systems are fear. The employment systems are all about fear. You know, it's, oh my God, the boss just came in. Start working, everybody. You know, there are all of these components to our culture that are focused on this whole concept of fear. So we actually have been socialized on fear from the time we've been born. And we've also been shown that there is love, but that it's secondary to fear. And my perspective on this whole piece of self love is that really the bottom line is that if we really want to make a difference for ourselves and ergo everyone around us as a result, then love is the key. And that really what we want to do in life is to start banishing that fear and bringing that love into our lives. And so, it comes down to, if we're going to do that, then we want to define who we are based on love. And it's us being able to then start thinking about some of these things that are healthy for us. And these fit very well, Shelley, with some of the things that you've laid out for us today, including all of the self components that she's so aptly spoken about. But also the other piece that I think is critical is healthy boundaries. And this is something that a lot of people talk about and very few people actually practice. And the bottom line there is that if you have healthy boundaries, then from that comes healthy relationships. And healthy relationships start within us. So if we don't have those boundaries around us, then how can we build that value within us? So in order to do that, then we want to make sure that we learn how to do those things and then implement them in our own lives. The second thing is, um, it's funny, but I'm going to use a quote from Oscar Wilde, of all people, in that he always said, to love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. So that builds very well into this whole concept of love. And, I've seen a lot of things written about, you need to love yourself, everything. And that saying, warts and all, well, warts and all. So it's very hard for us, though, because we've been schooled in this world of fear. We've been schooled in this world of, looking for our warts. And the reality is that if we want to live in love, we have to let that go. So it's also about letting go. And it's about letting go of all of those fear-based structures. And it's about, stopping the neglect, because we're letting go of fear. If we're
yes.
drawn by fear, then neglect comes into that, because we're running so fast to deal with all the things we fear. And the other piece I would add today is, Shelley talked about honoring your values and also being compassionate with yourself. And I fully believe that if we can't let ourselves make a mistake, if the inner critic takes over every time we make a mistake, then we're not living in love, are we? And my final comment on that today is a couple of things. One is, don't forget, no matter what, you are enough. You belong wherever you want to belong, and you matter. So let's look at our next question, Shelley. Tell me, have you had a chance to think about some strategies that you would recommend that either you practice or that you would recommend that others practice to achieve that self-love?
Okay. Well, one of the things that I really think is important is to practice actually meditation. I think meditation is a really key part of releasing our energy, our negative energies, of kind of visiting our inner self, so that we can take time to let all that brain clutter and anxiety and worry pass us by. And in the process of meditation, we become metacognitive. We're thinking about our thinking, and recognizing what's happening to our inner beings, and becoming accepting of who we are and what we need. So, and it can be as little as 3 minutes a day. That meditation is really, really important. I think that we need to learn to stop, make regular stops during our workday to give ourselves a break, whether that's walking around for 5 minutes, or standing up and having a body stretch, or doing a body scan, or just some deep breaths. Those are all really important. We need to drink water and eat healthy, and when we eat, this is the temple of your soul, so you want to take care of it. So don't say to yourself, oh shoot, I forgot to eat, I'm going to run to A&W or McDonald's. Prepare something wonderful for yourself, savor it, and eat slowly, and be mindful, and live in the present as much as you can. Be aware of what's happening, and be content with, be accepting with what's happening. So you want to take care of yourself in getting enough sleep at night. 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Maybe that means sleep meditations. Maybe that means shutting off the technology 2 hours before bed. Maybe that means going for a walk or having a warm shower, so that you can prepare your body for sleep. You need to socialize, whether, and in this time during COVID, so many of us can't do what we're used to doing, but we need to find ways to connect to the people that we care about, because they need us just as much as we need them. And they help remind us that we are in the world, and that we matter. We are enough. They are enough. And by practicing love with ourselves, we also practice love with others. And we teach them how to love themselves. We teach our children how to feel love, and how to practice self-love. And by exercising the boundaries that you mentioned, sometimes you might need to actually sit down and journal because you're just not quite sure. You're uneasy about a decision. Sit down and do some writing out of what's bothering you. Journal out the things that are concerning you if you have time. Maybe even journal on your computer if you don't have a journal at home, because all of those things really matter. Let's see. I guess it all comes back to believing in yourself and loving in your love, practicing love and self-compassion. Ask me another question, because
Because
I don't know if I covered it all.
it was wonderful.
Oh, wait, there's one more that I want to say that's really
Mhm.
important.
Mhm.
Allow yourself to dream.
Mhm.
It's really important to dream, to set goals, pursue your passions, and and celebrate who you are, because that is such an important part of self-love. And if you are surrounded by people that don't support that, you need to really consider the relationships in your life, because they may not be the relationships that you need to really be you and practice being you. So, yeah.
Well, that was lovely.
Thank you. So, how have you practiced self-love? What is your the things that you do in a day? What do you do to practice self-love?
Wow. Well, that's a good question. I think, it's interesting when we use the word love, and I just want to throw that out there before I get into that. Um, a lot of us have a definition of love that is quite small. And I think in order for us to really look at love, we need to look at it as a broader piece. And so I'm just going to start with a little story. So there's a woman that I work with here in my community, and she finishes every single email with love and then her name. And she believes that her spiritual side is all about loving others. So for her, spirituality means loving others. And the kinds of things that she has done for other people are like earth shattering. They're that amazing. And so my point in that is that, it's about loving ourselves, but it's also understanding that love can be dropping off a plant to someone who's ill. Love can also be, as she would say, doing church in other areas, whether that means going and helping with a youth that's in trouble, or, helping out the food bank or whatever. Those are all, expressions of outward love. So when it comes to inward love and loving ourselves, we have to remember, and this is something that we all need to continue to say to ourselves when we're in competing situations with time, and we're trying to remember to do things for ourselves, but how do we get that in there? And that is, you're all you ever wanted, and you're all you ever needed, and you're all you ever will need. So if we look at life that way, then I think, it gives us a very different perspective on the challenges that we face. Um, in terms of some of the strategies that I use and that I, would recommend wholeheartedly, the first one is what I call body happy. And body happy is not just the obvious things like exercise, but it's also those balancing things. And, Shelley talked about meditation. And I'm going to add to that, yoga or stretching or walking or biking or whatever it is that gets you out into that, in the natural world around us, and allows us to breathe that fresh air and replenish our bodies um, with with the oxygen that it needs to do its job. Um, and in that context, for me, meditation is a funny word, because we all talk about it, but I'm not really sure everybody really understands what meditation is. And when you actually go up on YouTube, and feel free to do that, and type in meditation, and you'd be amazed what shows up. And the reality is that there are so many wonderful meditations out there that are called guided meditations, that you don't have to sort of worry about, well, how do I do this? Because it's actually right there. So there is a wonderful guy called Jason Stevenson, who's very, very prolific, and he does sleep meditations. And you can choose a sleep meditation every day for the next month, because he's made so many. There's also a wonderful lady named Teal Swan, who's doing very, very focused meditations. But again, it's just you settle and you listen and you follow what they tell you. And that is a wonderful way to have the nervous systems balanced and a happy body. Um, when Shelley talked about dreaming, there's also that whole thing about expressing yourself and really truly being you. And there are two ways to look at being you. One is being you, and the other one is being you. In other words, we want to be. And we need to let go of some of that go, 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 and I have to do this and I have to do that in order to just be. And then it's up to each one of us to define what that being is. Um, Lao Tzu always said the way to do is to be. And a lot of people, I think it took a lot of centuries for people to really truly start to understand what that means. The other part in that whole piece of dreaming that Shelley talked about is reward. And, we have to reward ourselves. And that doesn't mean going to McDonald's or getting a blizzard. There are lots of ways that we can reward ourselves. Just being able to sit out on that back patio on a beautiful day, go for a drive, if whatever it is that you find makes you really happy, that's all part of body happy. And it's also part of mind happy. So on the mind happy side of things, um, we need to always remember that if we're going to live in love, then we also need to live with gratitude. And gratitude is much more powerful than anybody ever would give it credence. And in my life, I've seen a lot of very challenging things. And I remember very well, it was like yesterday. I sat down in the chair at my hairdresser's just after my husband had passed, and I was slumped over and, just in a really rough spot. And my hairdresser looked at me and said, "You need to go and get Oprah's gratitude book." And I went, "Who? What?" This was over 20 years ago. And I knew this lady had a show, but didn't know any more about it. So I did. I went and I bought this book and I thought, "Oh, I don't know what this is going to do for me, but whatever." And I took it home and it required that you put 3 things down in your journal, or which was a gratitude journal, whatever it is that you're grateful for. But here's the thing, it can't be the same 3. So you can't say, my daughter, my pets, and my home every day. Sorry, you have to recreate that. And in that process of recreation, we dig deep to figure out when we're really at our bottom, we have to dig really deep. But we'll find them and they're there. And then as time goes on, that gets easier and easier. And then we begin to change how we look at the world. So part then of body happy is looking at the world from that one spot, which is that we are all that we ever needed, that we ever wanted. And that relationship with us changes everything about how we look at others and how we look at the world around us. So those are some thoughts that come to mind on that. So Shelley, tell me, when you're working with clients as in your coaching environment, as we both do, um, tell me, what are some of the things that you can do with respect to advice for your clients? So not so much strategies, but what do you share with them?
I share with them some of my own experiences of the past, how I have, battled with many of the same demons that many of us have. Recently, a woman I was working with asked me, "Why do I have all these problems? I'm worried about all these things." And I said, everybody has those problems in some form. We all have them. It's just that you're taking the time to address them and make your life better. So we talk about, I invite her to talk about or think about creating positive thoughts for herself through journaling and gratitude, as you've mentioned, um, to consciously be aware of a negative thought that's coming and consciously counter it with logical thoughts. I invite her to do things that make her feel happy, because as you were talking about mind happy and body happy, those things are absolutely critical. So if it makes you happy to go outside and go for a walk, then do it. If it makes you happy to play the guitar or take a course or socialize with a friend, do it. If it makes you happy to do kind things for others, and I think we all really experience that joy in being able to give to someone else, to be generous and kind with other people. Those things all fill us up. They fill us up. And yeah, so just hang on a second.
Okay.
So in conclusion, I think it's really important that in the practicing of self-love, we need to understand that the better that we understand ourselves, and by practicing self-love, that's how we come to understand ourselves, we also open the door to understanding those around us, to having a better relationship with those who live in our world and with other people. It's so by giving ourselves a gift, we actually give everyone around us a gift. And by filling our cup, we help others fill their cups and feel, that goodness that comes from just being, as you were saying, just being who you are. So, I don't think I have anything more to say, but I really want to thank everyone for listening today or watching, as it may be. And I'm so grateful to be here with Liz. I'm really enjoying doing this little series, and I'm going to pass it to you, Liz.
Okay. So, advice that I give clients. Well, I've got only a few things to add because Shelley's covered some amazing points. One of them that I think is important is number one, make a deal with yourself. That deal is that in order to get to this point inside yourself, you have to sit down and really put on paper what are your true needs? What do you really need? And what I don't mean like stuff, I mean within your environment, within your life. And secondly, what are those boundaries that help you get to those needs? The other part that I want to throw out there is no matter how tough life looks, you are not broken. None of us are broken. We are a work in progress. We are always a work in progress. And remember that the power that comes to us in our lives is from love and from an open heart. And so, if we want to be infinitely powerful in our lives, then we need to go forward with that open heart. And that leads to an actual sense of freedom. So, when we open the heart, we're free. And as Shelley said, when we're filling that cup for other people, when we're free, so are they. And so, with that, I'm gonna conclude with a quote, believe it or not, from the Bible. And the Bible actually states, when I was a child, I spoke, I thought, and I behaved as a child. When I became an adult, I put away those childish things. So, my challenge to everyone listening today is it's time to bring those childish things back. And it's time to dance, it's time to walk in the woods, it's time to go for a drive, whatever it is that you love that helps you regenerate you is I'm putting it out there. It's time to make that deal with yourself and go do it. Nike was very good in that when they said just do it. Well, sometimes we have to put away the fear and live in love.
And just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
practice believing in yourself. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
Okay.
So I think we're at the point where we've said what we came to say today. Do you think we are?
Yes, I think so. Okay.
Yeah, I think we are. So we're really looking forward to that next piece, which is going to be on self-awareness. And that's another piece in this whole concept of of, our own personal power and our own self-love and our own self-awareness. So stay tuned, folks. And in the meantime, you can reach me at elizabethhochster@gmail.com. I now have a domain name, which is elizabethhochster.com. And very shortly, I'll be at our next one, I'll be giving you my website link as well. And you can find Shelley at
it's Shelley, the number 4, perfect positivity at gmail.com, or my last name, McInroy, MCINROY, first name Shelley, SHELLEY at gmail.com. And I do have a Facebook business page that's in the works. It's under Shelley McInroy as well, and I do have a web page in the works, but it's not ready yet. So I guess I'll be letting you know when I finally have that up and running. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, that sounds
everyone.
great. Well, thank you,
Okay.
folks. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.